Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Morfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Benedese. Her beautiful day. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is squad, and that also means elephant. Okay. 10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Nej. Nej. Man. Igen. Ja. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bambas. Bamba. Okay, Bambas is ducks. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon. I buy a computer or quack, and here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, quack sounds vaguely like hogun and the hok in hogun in Korean or waku in Japanese, and that appears it is the exact same kind of character. Oh, I see. This is Dikhe Ishai Fui, which means do you want food? But yeah, are you hungry? That kind of thing. How are the boys? Sine da boy. Posso Milao. Pote. When is it? Proteine. Udros. Hello and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise, where we are resuming our Duolingo Speedrun. Just a little over, actually, yeah, just a little over 100 points short of first place. It's been very contentious. First place has been very hotly contended for the past few days, and this is the closest I've been at the start. So let's see just how far I can get up in there. That didn't sound quite right. Okay, let's just get our windows. Make sure that crop looks okay. Excellent. Okay, and for today we are starting with Japanese, which is one of my working languages. I have 3 categories of languages I'm doing on this speed run. The main one is... Where exactly has my eye mask gone off to? Sorry. The eye mask of randomization has disappeared on me. Here we go. The eye mask of randomization is here. So we have my working languages, of which Japanese is one. Then there are a large number of languages that I know some amount of which is, I think, the majority of the languages in this 36 language speed run, and then we've got a couple that I just basically know nothing about. So, today we're starting off with one of my working languages, which is Japanese, and of course, viewers who would like to choose a language for me can do so by giving me a follow on Twitch or a sub on YouTube, and a $5 contribution on my Patreon, the link for which you'll find up top. Okay, so... here we go. Let's get started here. Is there a thin pen? あるだろ?
太いペンをください。
A thick pen, please.
その教科書は厚いですか?
Is that textbook thick?
この漢字辞書はとても厚いです。
お
この
漢字辞
辞書は
とて
とても
厚
厚い
いで。
です
店で細いペンを買いました。
I bought a thin pen at the shop.
その英語の辞書は全然厚くないです。
だからどうしい顔してるの? That English dictionary is not thick at all. And one thing to keep in mind if you're a Japanese learner is that atsui can mean two different things depending on the kanji. This kanji means thick, atsui. But there's also atsui, which means hot. And so you gotta watch the kanji and watch the context, because atsui is not always going to mean thick. 太い。
太い。このお箸は少し太いです。
These chopsticks are a little thick. よせ。熱い。
熱い。
太い。
太い。
細い。
細い。
細い道はゆっくり進みます。
I go slowly on narrow roads. 在宅。
在宅。
細い。
細い。
熱い。
熱い。
太い。
太い。その色鉛筆は太いですか?
Is that colored pencil thick? 完璧だ。丸い。
丸い。
そのお皿は丸いです。
That plate is round.
このシャツは少し薄いです。
This shirt is a little thin.
そのスカートは薄くないですか?
Isn't that skirt thin?
そのボタンを押してください。
Please press that button. Now, sono and kono and sono and kono and ano do not completely map to this and that. I mean, to some extent they do, but not entirely. Because the key with ko, so, a, do. Because you see these as prefixes in a lot of different places, not just, kore, sore, are. Is ko, like kono, kore, koko, is near the person speaking. Sono, soko, sore is near the person who's speaking is speaking with. That was an awkward way of saying that. And then asoko, are, ano indicates that it is away from both people. Now it's a bit more complicated. There's some non-spatial distinctions that go on as well, and that is actually where this and that become a little bit more apt for translating it. But in a spatial sense, that's what's going on.
その丸いボタンを押しました。
I pressed that round button. あ？いいボタンを押したって。大変なことになるぞ。
誰がボタンを押しますか？
誰がボタンを押しますか？
彼は黄色いボタンを押しました。
He pressed the yellow button. Now this can also mean a yellow button. 細い。
細い。
押し。
押し。
薄い。
薄い。
太い。
太い。
丸い。
丸い。
右のボタンを押してください。
Please press the right button. Oh well, the button on the right. 細い。
細い。
押し。
押し。
薄い。
薄い。
丸い。
丸い。
太い。
太い。
すみません。ボタンを押してください。
Excuse me. Please press the button.
丸いスプーンで食べます。
I eat with a round spoon. I guess the round spoon, that's a bit of a redundant. It's either redundant or impossible.
私の部屋には大きな丸いテーブルがあります。
There is a big round table in my room.
その授業の教科書はとても薄い。
The textbook for that class is very thin. Kanbeki to a 5.
紙があります。
There is paper.
鍵を3枚ください。
3 sheets of paper, please. Now that might in some might is something to keep an eye on because that is what's called a counter, and it counts flat objects. For example, another one that it is used for is pizzas. If you want 3 pizzas, you say, pizzaを3枚ください. That's 3 pizzas because it's a flat, relatively thin object.
大変です。鍵をなくしました。
I'm in trouble. I lost my keys.
彼はタバコを吸います。
He smokes.
このレストランではタバコを吸ってはいけません。
You cannot smoke in this restaurant.
父はタバコを吸っています。
父は
タ
タバ
バコ
コを
を吸っ
ています。
タバコを吸いますか？
Do you smoke? 太い
太い
鍵
鍵
丸い
丸い
水
水
細い
細い
車の鍵はどこですか？
Where are the car keys? 水
水
太い
太い
鍵
鍵
薄い
薄い
丸い
丸い
Now, one thing to note about su, or like as in suimas, steimas, as they're using for, is it doesn't just mean to smoke. It basically means to sort of suck in anything. Like if you're sipping something, you can be potentially you can be doing it, or if something is absorbing something, you would say suitoru, which is the combination of two, like absorb or take. So it can mean a lot more things. You'll find su used in places that it's nothing to do with smoking.
財布をなくしました。交番に行きます。
I lost my wallet. I will go to the police box.
店で財布をなくしました。
I lost my wallet at the store.
紙を2枚ください。
2 sheets of paper, please. このレストランじゃ。
このレストランで
タバコ
を吸
ってはいけません。Okay.
大変です。
鍵をなくしました。Okay, that is a weird way to divide なくしました。Because it is two words, really. なく, which means no longer there, and しました, which just means to do or to make. I made it no longer there, basically, is what we're saying, literally. So if I were doing this, it would be なくしました. Maybe し and then ました. Now, a lot of these divisions are a bit odd, and not just in Japanese. Imagine there's something to do with the software there. 3 of 5.
大きい
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 鍵
鍵
石
石鹸
大きい
大きい
薄い
薄い
押し
押し石鹸
石鹸
石鹸
石
石
鹸
鹸
石鹸
石鹸
薄い
薄い
大きい
大きい
丸い
丸い
石鹸
石鹸
細い
細い
石
石
鹸
鹸。
この石鹸を使ってください。
Please use this soap.
お金をたくさん使ってはいけません。
お金をたくさん使ってはいけません。See, that's another one where the division's a bit odd. I mean, I can understand dividing ike and masen, because that is sort of like the last part of the word ike. The division between ike and masen is like the last part of the word that can be divided up, and you could add something else, because ike can be followed by ru, ikeru, iketa, ikenai, etc. But there is nothing there is no alternative in like standard normal modern usage anyway. no other thing that you can tack onto mase. It's always going to be masen.
誰もシャワーを使っていません。
No one is using the shower.
カバンをここに置いてください。
Please put the bag here.
部屋にテーブルを置きます。
I will put the table in a room. Now this can also be I will put a table in the room, or I will put a table in a room. I mean, there is no distinction being made in the Japanese between and the. It's just implied from context. So this can mean a lot of different things.
パンをナイフで切ってください。
Please cut the bread with a knife. この紙を2つに切ってください。
ください。
パンをナイフで切ってください。
ください。
4 of 5. カップ. Actually, that is more of a mug, so you would call it mug cup.
カップに牛乳を入れました。
I poured milk into the cup. ポケット。
ポケット？
このスカートはポケットがありません。
This skirt has no pockets. 箱。
箱の中には何がありますか？
What is inside the box?
教科書を忘れました。
I forgot my textbook. Now here's another example where there's nothing in here that says that it explicitly that it is my textbook. It just says kyokasho, which just means textbook. In fact, it doesn't even say that I am the one who forgot it. It just says forgot textbook. So this actually applies to anyone. If somebody else forgot it, you could use it just as well. Kyokasho wasuremashita. You can add, if you want to be explicit, 私は教科書を忘れました. And then it becomes explicitly I lost it. But of course, it does not say that it's my textbook explicitly either. That is just implied again. So that could be the textbook as well. If I say 私は私の教科書を忘れました, then it is very explicitly me losing my pen, my textbook rather. But this is a thing you have to get used to in Japanese. All sorts of things can just be implied, and you have to just pay attention to the context in order to work out what is meant.
彼の名前を忘れました。
彼の名前を忘れました。
傘を忘れました。
I forgot an umbrella. See, this could also, just following on from kyokasho wasuremashita a couple of exercises ago, this could also mean I forgot my umbrella. I almost said watermelon for absolutely no good reason. Or it could mean she forgot her umbrella, or anyone forgot any umbrella. It's all down to context. 水暑い箱忘れ置き
私の名前を忘れましたか？
Did you forget my name? Now here it is explicitly my name. 私の名前 but it doesn't actually explicitly say who did the forgetting. That could be anyone. Like if you could use this just as well to say, "Oh, did he forget my name? Oh, watashi no namae o wasuremashita ka?" And it means the exact same. I mean, it's all about the context. Marui,
丸い
kagi,
鍵
wasure,
忘れ
hako,
箱
sekken.
石鹸
And one thing to also get used to, like we have oki and we have wasure, and these are verb stems, and they can often be combined. Like you could say oki wasureru or wasure, oki wasure ni shita, which would mean like I just placed it someplace and forgot all about it. You can do this, and Japanese does this all the time. They just combine these verb stems in order to create compound actions.
箱にカップを入れました。
I put the cup in the box. Now, you'll notice that, you might remember from a couple of exercises ago, we had, ireru meaning to pour into a cup. カップに牛乳を入れました. Now, the reason that it can mean to put the cup in the box, and it can mean to pour into the cup, is that ireru just means to put something in another thing. It is to cause something to enter. Ireru is, so it can mean, for example, if you say, I'll run the bath, you can say, お風呂入れるよ. And that just means to, literally just putting the bath in, as in putting the water in the bath. So, we have different words in English for this, but in Japanese you could just use ireru, and it's always going to be good, because it just means to cause one thing to go into another thing.
大きな箱と小さな箱どっちがいいですか
Okay, there are a lot of different ways you could actually translate this. What they're encouraging is prefer the big box or the small box. Okay, but literally what this says is big box and small box, which is good. So this can mean, you could translate that as, which do you prefer, the big one or the small one? It's a matter of preference, really.
ポケットの中に鍵があります。
There are keys in the pocket. And now, again, this could just as well mean my keys are in my pocket. Or my key is in my pocket, because Japanese does not, for the most part, explicitly mark a plural. So kagi can mean key or it can mean keys. It can mean a key or the key. And it's all about, Japanese is all about learning to read context, really. Okay. See, this is the cool thing about doing this speedrun. It gives me all sorts of stuff to talk about in relation to these languages that if you just said think of something to talk about Japanese, I would have a hell of a time coming up with it because I just don't work that way somehow. You know, coming up, with a random topic is not something that is easy for me. But sometimes the topic is just laid in my hands and then I can just do this. ポケット
ポケッ
に
トに
鍵
鍵
が
が
あり
あり
ま。
ます
Yeah, and it's noting that you can also say ポケットの中に鍵があります. And that becomes a little bit more explicit, a little bit more emphasizing that it is inside the thing. But ni in itself can also mean in. 箱に
に
カッ
カッ
プを
プを
入れまし
まし
た。
た。
OK、100%。では、レベルアップはしましたけど、まず XP チェックは行いますね。3184ポイント。So we got 3184, and we're trying to beat 3249, as we have 2 days left to finish at the top of Sapphire League. And I think I'm going to just keep going with Japanese for a little bit, because I'm enjoying just talking about these particular aspects that, and I think there's some good content. I'm going to clip this and useful stuff for learners. Okay, so we're just going one at a time. So I'm just going to stick with Japanese. Necktie.
ネクタイ
ネクタイ
Tie. バター。
バター
バターを冷蔵庫から出しました。
I took the butter out from the refrigerator. Now, I mean, that's just kind of slightly weird English. I would say take it out of, but okay. Now, dasu, much like we were talking about ireru a moment ago, dasu, dashimashita, is the same sort of thing. I caused this thing to go out of another thing. So you can use this in a lot of places where you would not actually, you would use different words, you would use all sorts of different words to translate it in English. In fact, we were talking about compounds and, compound verbs a minute ago. Well, dasu is a very, very productive source of these compounds, because you can add this to pretty much any verb. Like, you say, take aruku, to walk. Aruki dashimashita, I started walking. Adding the dasu to the verb stem means that you're starting to do something. Aruki dashimashita. Hanashi dashimashita. Like, ii dashimashita, which means to be, like, ii dasu is to be like the first person to bring something up. So, I mean, this is kind of the fun of Japanese. This is the fun of agglutinative languages. You can always just be building words. And it's much easier, it's very easy word building. Because it's all very explicit. It's all kind of laid out in front of you, and you just kind of work out how to combine them to get whatever shade of meaning you want. Okay. Checking the dashboard to see what's going on.
グラム
Gram.
ダイ
Nothing
ヤモ
bad.
ンドは綺麗です
Diamonds are pretty. I don't know, I find them rather pedestrian.
白いブラウスをください。
The white blouse, please. That can also just mean all white blouse, of course. Or, you know, it can even mean, like, give me my white blouse.
母は可愛いハンカチを買いました。
My mom bought a cute handkerchief.
このハンカチは誰のものですか？
このハンカチは、
もの、
誰の
の、
ものですか？
ダイヤモンドはとても高いです。
Diamonds are very expensive. Notice here, takai, which also just means high, can mean expensive. It's, I mean, you see this a lot. You have a lot of words in Japanese that can be translated in a million different ways, but in Japanese they can, you can just use that word for everything.
このダイヤモンドは祖母にもらいました。
I received this diamond from my grandmother. Now, I was talking about ni a minute ago. Now, if you notice, it says sobo ni moraimashita. See, ni can mean in. It can mean to. It can even mean from. Again, this is what I'm talking about. Japanese words, they have so many different use cases. It is one of the things that you really have to kind of just get used to.
バターをたくさん入れました。
I put a lot of butter in. Or I put in a lot of butter, also true.
どのネクタイがいいですか？
Which tie would you like? Or this could also be like, which tie do you prefer? Or which tie is good, even. It literally just means which tie is good.
100グラムは全然重くないです。
100 grams is not heavy at all.
私のブラウスがどこにもないです。
My blouse is nowhere. Yeah, I guess they're looking for to be seen. I would have said to be found, but literally this means my blouse is nowhere. どこにもない。私のブラウスはどこにもないです。Now you notice I put ブラウスは You could also, it would not be wrong to say ブラウスが without any further context. It kind of depends on, I mean, it depends on what's going on. It depends on the conversation, the thread of the conversation. This is why wa and ga are very complicated. Even though some aspects of them are fairly simple. Because if I say, 私のブラウスがどこにもないです, what I'm suggesting, it's like, what happened, what are you missing, for example? If somebody says, if I say, どこにもない, you know, it's nowhere to be found, and somebody says, 何が? ブラウスが. But if I'm introducing the subject of my blouse, blouse, then I would tend to say wa. Oh, nice to see that. I wish there was a way to report something for being good. Because what I just said, see, I was afraid they were going to mark me wrong for that. But here they go, another correct solution. 私のブラウスがどこにもないです。このハンカチは誰のものですか? People who know Greek will recognize this way of saying whose is it. Is it literally whose thing is it? Mono in this it means thing here. So it's like, you know, we have in In Greek, you have like dikomu. My, if you want to say it is mine, αυτό είναι δικό μου. This is my thing, my own thing. And Japanese does it the same way, basically. Perfect. This is the most expensive, diamond.
今日は昨日より寒いです。
Today is colder than yesterday. Sería menos frío que el anterior, ya que estoy congelándome. Para amar,
洋服をたくさん買いました。
I bought a lot of yofuku. Okay. Clothes, I mean, you could just say, okay, yofuku specifically means Western clothes. In fact, I mean, yofuku is sometimes used for dress. You could, fuku, if you say fuku o takusan kaimashita, that could mean Japanese clothes, traditional Japanese clothes, or Western clothes. Yofuku specifically makes it Western. When you see yo like this, at the beginning of something with that kanji, then you are specifically saying it's something Western.
もっと野菜を食べてください。
Eat more veg, please. You could also say, 野菜をもっと食べてください. Oh, bollocks. Okay. I didn't even see that was most.
静かなところの方がいいです。
I prefer a quiet location. And here again, this doesn't say anything about I. It doesn't even have a verb for prefer. It means, no hoga ii. It means it tends to be better. So, this could even mean it would be better for you to it would be better for you to be someplace quiet. It can mean a lot of different things. All that is absolutely explicit here is that it is saying a quiet place, tokoro, location, place, etc. Is better than an alternative, hypothetically. A hypothetical alternative.
布団の方が好きです。
布団の方が好きです。This means somebody, I mean, that is an implied subject, prefers a 布団。
もっと可愛いカバンが欲しいです。
I want a cuter bag. よ。
この店で一番高いお菓子が欲しいです。
I want the most expensive snack isn't quite right. Okashi indicates sweets. Snack in this store. And also mise. I mean, it literally means store, but it can be used to refer to a restaurant or a cafe or basically any place you can buy stuff. Same is true with kage, which is the equivalent of mise in Korean. Marui.
丸い、
Oshi.
押し、
Sui.
水、
Oki.
大きい。
Yo.
もっと水が欲しいです。
I want more water. And that could be anyone wants more water.
どれが一番安いですか？
Which one is the cheapest?
洋服を全部洗濯しました。
I washed all my clothes. Or it could be all the clothes, really. My is implied here. In fact, the idea that it was me who washed it is also implied.
洋服はいつもこの店で買います。
I always buy clothes from this store. Ah, damn it. from this store.
この方が好きです。
I like this more. That sounds... Yeah, that doesn't sound right in English. In some languages it makes perfect sense, but I would say I like this better. In Spanish I would say I like this more. Me gusta más. But not in English so much.
彼は僕より4つ上です。
He is 4 years older than me. Now, one thing that needs to be made clear, boku is specifically, see, there is a distinction between sort of male and female words in Japanese. It's breaking down a little bit. Like, especially in the LGBT community, it's actually, the distinction has broken down quite a lot. But conventionally, boku is a word for I and or me that is used by boys and men. That is conventionally, and it's also relatively informal, though not very.
今のアパートは前のところより広いです。
My current apartment is more spacious, literally wider, than my previous place.
もっと野菜を食べてください。
Eat. Damn it, I almost did it again. More vegetables. Please. Two of 5.
締め。
締め。
よう。
名前。
名前。
締め。
締め。
せ。
せ。
べ。
べ。
Now, 締め is another one that can be used in a lot of ways. Like, you like to talk about like closing a thing or wrapping something up, as in like concluding it. You often see 締め used in compounds to refer to that. I don't say, but I don't think that's what we're talking about here. We'll see. Say.
せ。
よ
う。
水。
水。
起き。
大きい。
せ。
せ。
締め。
締め。
この背広は少し小さいです。
This suit is a bit small.
このパーティーではネクタイを締めてください。
Please. That's where we were going. Yes. For objects that you tie onto yourself, the way to say that you're wearing it or you're putting it on is to say 締める。ネクタイを締める。Put on a tie at this party. Okay, that's a weird way of saying it, because you wouldn't put the tie on at the party usually. Yeah, you put the tie on before you go. Yeah, and it would not be any different in Japanese if you were saying, please wear a tie for this party. Then you would still say, necktie o shimeru. Necktie o shimeteru. He's wearing a tie, or she's wearing a tie. They're wearing a tie.
会社で背広を着ています。
I am wearing, I mean, this could also just mean I wear, in this case, a suit at the office. 会社 just means company.
冬は暖かい上着がいります。
You need a warm jacket in the winter. Although this also this doesn't actually say who needs it. It just says it's needed. It's required.
ワイシャツを洗濯します。
I will wash the dress shirt. Although, again, it could be anyone washing it.
デパートでワイシャツを2枚買いました。で、
ワイシャツを2枚. Remember, we were talking about mai and flat things? Well, in Japanese, a dress shirt is considered a flat thing. I guess, because you fold it. 買いました. And, I mean, the best thing to do, if you're trying to get a handle on these counters, like mai or hon, is just to kind of listen to people, listen to where they come up, listen to how people talk. Like, there are, like, for example, hon refers to, like, cylindrical objects, but you hear it in places that wouldn't immediately suggest a cylindrical object, like an episode of something. Like, if you say only one episode was filmed, you would say 一本しか撮影されてない. And I assume the reason for this is that when this stuff was all, done on film, it was a cylindrical object, technically. Just a very flat cylindrical object that it was kept in. So just kind of pay attention to what people are using to count the stuff and just memorize and get used to it.
兄は仕事で背広を着ます。
My older brother wears a suit at work. And the other thing to know about these counters is you don't have to sweat them too much. There are lots of cases where native speakers have trouble deciding. In fact, I was writing a short story in Japanese, and I had a pretty clear idea what I thought was going to be the right counter for it. Don't ask me what it was at the moment. I don't remember what the context even was, except that I was writing a short story. And so I decided to just put in, I think it was like mai or hon, or something like that. And it turned out there was actually a pretty lively forum discussion in Japanese amongst native speakers trying to work out what the actual correct counter was. And it turned out both of them are in use. There's a lot of, because these counters are a really old aspect of Japanese. And so it's a little bit arbitrary a lot of the time what they're applied to. And so there are lots of debatable cases. There are plenty of edge cases of which counter you'd apply, and native speakers differ on it. So it's not something to sweat too much when it comes to the specifics, but it's something to get used to.
ワイシャツを着てネクタイを締めました。
I put on a dress shirt and a tie. Okay. I was going to remark about something in this. Oh yes, the fact that there doesn't seem to be anything being worn below the waist mostly.
これは誰の上着ですか？
Whose jacket is this?
犬がネクタイを締めました。
The dog put on a tie. Why? シャツを着てネクタイを締めてください。Maybe the reason they haven't mentioned below the waist is because things that you pull on up to your waist have a different verb for putting them on as well. See, sometimes Japanese has one word that gets translated a million different ways into English. And sometimes English has one word that gets translated a million different ways in Japanese. That's just something you have to get used to. Mm-hmm. これは誰の上着ですか？ 3 of 5. 豚肉。
豚肉
私は豚肉を食べません。
I don't eat pork. 牛肉。
牛肉。
夕飯に牛肉を食べます。
I eat beef for dinner.
砂糖を1キロ買いました。
I bought 1 kilo of sugar. And note the word order here. 砂糖, so sugar, 1 kilo. Welcome H Dehum. Or H Dehum.
牛肉を 1kg ください。
牛肉を
を
1kg
キログラム
くだ
くだ
さい。
さい。
So you do the thing and then the amount. That's something to get used to in Japanese.
そのお店に豚肉はありますか？
Is there pork in that store? Which again can also mean that restaurant.
この店に鶏肉はありますか？
Does this store or restaurant have chicken? Ah, hell, misclick. せ、
豚、
鶏肉、
鶏肉、
よ、しめ、
しめ、鶏肉を1キロください。
1 kilo of chicken, please. 鶏肉、せ、しめ、よ、豚。豚肉と牛肉、どちらが好きですか？ Which do you like? I mean, it can also mean like better. I think that's probably what they're aiming for. But it isn't explicit, and that's just something you get used to. Pork or beef?
私は鶏肉料理が一番好きです。
I like chicken dishes the most.
この店に鶏肉はありますか？
Does this store have chicken? Okay, 4 of 5.
雨、
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 よう、
よう、
払い、
払い、豚、
しめ、
しめ、
雨。
弟に飴をあげました。
I gave my little brother hard candy.
出口でお金を払ってください。
Please pay at the exit.
小さいのを3つください。
3 small ones, please.
今日は私が払います。
I will pay today.
この腕時計はかなり高いですね。
This watch is quite expensive, isn't it?
週末は海や山に行きました。
We went, or it could be I went or you went. Again, no explicit subject. To the sea and the mountain at the weekend.
子供は飴やお菓子が好きです。
子供
は飴、
いや、
や、
お菓
お菓子
子が
が
好き
好き
で。
です
その赤いのをください。
That red one, please. Now, one thing to note is that ame is hard candy, but there's also ame. Different kanji, different pitch accent, and that means rain. And then, just to make things a little bit more complicated, when you go to Kansai, to the West Japan, they switch it up. Harai,
払い、
buta,
豚、
ame,
飴、
harai,
払い、
yo, shime.
締め、
ダイヤモンドはかなり丈夫です。If you know Chinese, you'll notice that the word for durable in Chinese, it's the same characters as jiangfu, which means husband. Like you say 大丈夫 in Japanese, it means fine. In Chinese, it means big husband. 昨日の夕飯ではお金を払いませんでした。Okay, we've leveled up, and it is time to just have a look at the XP situation. Oh, and I am now just barely at the top. I am at the top by 7 points, which is exactly how my, how many points I've tended to be up at the top of Sapphire League by. So, I'm going to take a little bio break for a couple of minutes, but before we do that, it's time to select a language. So, the randomization, the eye mask of randomization, and we're gonna see. Of course, viewers can choose a language for me out of all of the languages that Duolingo does. I mean, if you want to see me do English for Spanish speakers even, or High Valyrian or whatever, yeah, I'll do that. If you give me a follow on Twitch, a sub on YouTube, and a $5 contribution to my Patreon, the link for which you find up top. Now, let's randomly select a new language for when I get back in just a couple of minutes. Where have we ended up? Swedish. We're doing Swedish. Vi ska göra svenska. Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital.
Okay, we've leveled up, and it is time to pick another language. Morfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okula giderim. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. the same word being as this, meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is squab, and that also means elephant. Okay. 10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Nai. Nai. None. Yen. Yo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bamba, okay, Bambas is ducks. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon. I buy a computer or quack, and here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or sounds vaguely like Hogun and the hok in Hogun in Korean or Waku in Japanese, and that appears it is the exact same kind of character. Oh, I see. This is Dikhe Ishai Fui, which means do you want food? But yeah, are you hungry? That kind of thing. How are the boys? Cine ta boy. Posso Milao. Pote. When is it? Proteine. Utros. Protopulo. In the designated chicken-eating area, obviously.
Monsieur.
And I'm back. And we've just picked a new language, which is going to be some Swedish. So let's get stuck in. And where were we? There we go. Right. Yes. We left off in the middle of one.
Vem har sovit i min säng?
Who slept in my bed? Yeah, I mean, yes, literally it is who has slept, but it can mean both. Sovit.
Sovit. Jag har stängt dörren.
I have closed the door.
Vi har arbetat tillsammans.
We have worked together.
Hon har arbetat utomlands i flera år.
Hon har arbetat utomlands i flera år.
Jag har verkligen försökt.
I really tried.
Försökt. Jag har aldrig träffat honom.
I have never met him.
Jag har presenterat honom för min fru.
They're going to have introduced him to my wife.
Hon har presenterat sin idé. Har. Presenterat sin idé. Jag har aldrig tänkt på det förut.
I have never thought about it before. See, again, this could also be just reasonably translated as I never thought about it before. But they don't seem to have taken that into account.
Jag har tänkt på en sak.
Jag har tänkt på en sak.
Jag ringer dig när gästerna har åkt.
I will ring you when the guests have left.
Han har åkt hem.
Han har åkt hem. Verkar. Stängt. Oh.
Ganska.
Pretty as an adverb. Tänker.
Orange.
Peppar. Nej. Lär. Av. Arbeta. Så.
Också.
Träffat. Förut.
Fem. När. Vem har sovit i min säng?
Who has slept in my bed?
Jag har verkligen försökt.
I have really tried. Doesn't even really sound right in English.
Han har valt att bo i Köpenhamn.
He has chosen to live in Copenhagen.
Valt.
Gewählt.
Katten har tvingat henne att sova på soffan.
The cat has forced her to sleep on the couch. And again, for German speakers, we will find you see one more word that should sound a little bit familiar. Zwingen, tvinga, same thing. Das ist das Gleiche. Tvingat. Gezwungen.
Har artisten sjungit än?
Has the artist sung yet?
Har du sjungit för henne?
Har du sjungit för henne?
Han har följt efter mig i 2 timmar.
He has followed me for 2 hours.
Följt. Fisken har simmat i vattnet.
The fish has swum in the water.
Killen har simmat i
Killen har simmat i poolen hela dagen.
Hon har berättat för sina föräldrar.
She told her parents. This is very annoying that they haven't taken that into account. That tense and aspect don't map exactly literally between Swedish and
Katten har
English.
hoppat från taket.
Oh, the cat has jumped from the roof.
Vargen har hoppat över stolen. Vargen har hoppat över stolen. Din son har hoppat över bordet.
Din son har hoppat över bordet. Flickor. Tänkt. Berättat. Berichtet. Valde. Wählte. Vilade. Weilte. Borta. That literally means away. Fyra. Tvingat. Men. Ja. Svart. Schwarz. Betalar. Bezahlt.
har
att, tills,
tills
valt.
valt. Hon har berättat för sina föräldrar.
She has told her parents. Six of eight.
Vi har stannat.
We have stopped.
Varför har ni stannat här?
Varför har ni stannat här?
Vi har inte beställt vin.
We have not ordered wine.
De har inte öppnat än.
They have not yet opened. Öppnat.
Öppnat.
Geöffnet.
De har sålt huset.
They have sold the house.
Har du sålt din klocka?
Har du
sålt
din klocka?
klocka? Vi har köpt ett hus.
We have bought a house. Köpt. Gekauft.
De har vunnit en ny bil.
They have won a new car.
Vi har inte vunnit den.
Vi har inte vunnit än.
Jag har bott på många ställen.
I have lived in many places.
Han är sur.
He is sauer.
Bott. Vi har bott här sedan.
Vi har bott här sedan förra sommaren. Alltid. Öppnat.
Börjar.
Utom. Helst. Vem
har vunnit?
Vi har inte beställt
vin. Har ni saknat mig?
Have you missed me? Really? Did you miss me sounds better and is more accurate in this case, but I don't think that they're taking it into account.
Han har saknat hans skratt.
Han har saknat
hans skratt. Har du tvättat dig?
Have you washed yourself? Tvättat. Sounds a little bit like twatted.
Hur länge har ni känt varandra?
How long have you known each other?
Jag har länge känt mig.
Jag har länge känt mig ensam.
Det har stått i tidningen.
It has been in the newspaper.
Vilket vackert leende. Vilket vackert. Vilka?
Oh shit, I misclicked.
Vad har du druckit?
What have you been drinking? Druckit.
Han har druckit för mycket.
Han har druckit för mycket.
Ja, jag har antagit det.
Yes, yes, I have assumed that.
Antagit. Har du slutat titta på TV än?
Have you finished watching telly yet?
Han har slutat äta kött.
Han har slutat äta kött.
Vart?
Några.
Stått.
Hund. Morgon. Saknat. Hittar. Använder. Tack. Köpte. Kanske. Åker. Framåt. 11. Känt. Vilket vackert leende. Okay, and we've leveled up. It's time to check out the XP situation. 3298. Still at the top of Sapphire League, and time to pick a new language. So far today, we've done Swedish and Japanese. Did an extra long session with Japanese just because I felt like it. Let's see, where have we ended up? Esperanto. Okay, Esperanto it is. Interesting language. Never felt any particular need to study it. Oh, we seem to have a new person on Twitch. Welcome, new viewer. You've come just as we're switching languages. About to start out with some Esperanto. So far today, we've done Japanese and Swedish. Okay. Action.
Ŝi maltrafis la Eŭropan Kongreson.
She missed the European Congress. Maltrafis. Trafas, I guess, is to hit. Maltrafis is the opposite of hitting. This is how intuitive Esperanto is.
La pomo falis de la arbo kaj trafis min.
The apple fell from the tree and hit me. Trafis, maltrafis.
Ĉu vi povas diveni kiu mi estas?
Can you guess, diveni, who I am?
Vi povas esti kontenta pri via progreso en Esperanto.
You can be content about your progress, I would say with, in Esperanto. I mean, part of the reason I've never felt any particular need to learn it is that I have absolutely no trouble understanding it anyway, because it's just so bloody intuitive. It is designed to be extremely simple to understand, and if you understand like some fair number of Western and Central European languages, you know all the roots of Esperanto, and then the rest is just.
La infanoj bezonis la konsenton de la gepatroj.
The children bezonis, bisogno, needed the consent of the parents, gepatroj.
Mi tute malkonsentas pri tio.
I completely disagree about it. Malconsentas. Oh, about that. Okay.
Kion vi celis?
What did you aim for? Celis? Ciel. Target. Li celis, sed maltrafis.
Ili maltrafis la fruan trajnon.
They missed the early train. And chat, just so you know, I mean, the other thing that we're doing here is answering people's language questions. Do you have any, like, language-related thing you've always wondered? I want to hear about it. Vi bone progressas.
Divenu kie mi estas.
Divenu kie mi estas. Kiu malkonsentas. Ni atingis nian celon. Okay. Jen nia ideo ĉu konsentas, I think. Mi tute malkonsentas pri tio. Ĉu vi povas diveni kiu mi estas? Li trafis la celon, la kelon.
Mi
Celon.
tute malkonsentas pri tio.
I completely disagree about that. Part of the idea with Esperanto is to make word order kind of irrelevant by using word endings that are highly informative. Basically everything I know about Esperanto specifically I know because I had to write a paper for my bat mitzvah and it was about Jewish languages because languages have just always been my thing. Mouses being mousy. And one of them was Esperanto because Zamenhof, the guy who invented it, is Jewish. Or, well, was. He's been dead for a while. Oh, come on. What is it with me and mouse problems? Okay, internet is back. Annoyingly, mouse is not. See what happens if we... Oh, come on. Okay. So, For a moment, while we wait for this mouse to be doing something, we're just gonna chat a little bit, since it is going to come back on. It's... why does it do this? So, how's everybody doing? Let's just make sure as well that both streams have gone back. And something's wrong with chat. Ah, what a wonderful collection of problems to have all at once. And now nothing's working, isn't that great? It was much less of a problem back when I had a touch screen. So, what's everybody up to today, chat? Since we have a moment where I can't do anything else until this mouse starts doing its thing again. Or one of them, anyway. Why is this happening? And why annoying thing with this is I can't even actually just end the stream and resume once I get this sorted out, because I don't have a functioning mouse to do it with. This is unbelievable. I have one that works very intermittently and one that works slightly less intermittently. And the outcome of this is that I'm stuck with no functioning mouse. Great. Dodgy. Okay, I have to look into this, and I'm gonna end this the only way I can at the moment, which is to turn off my entire bloody computer.